Sheen couldn't believe his luck when he found the charming Victorian house on Airman. Nestled in a quiet neighborhood, it seemed like the perfect escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. The listing boasted about its vintage charm, spacious rooms, and a backyard that promised tranquility. Eager for a change of scenery, Sheen booked the place for a week. Upon arrival, Sheen was greeted by the property's caretaker, Mrs. Blackwell. She was an elderly woman with a stern expression that sent a chill down his spine. Despite the unsettling first impression, Sheen shrugged it off, attributing it to his own fatigue. As Sheen settled into the house, he couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him. The creaking floorboards seemed to echo with unseen footsteps, and shadows danced on the periphery of his vision. The vintage charm he had admired in the listing took on a haunting quality as the days passed. One night, as Sheen was drifting off to sleep, he heard a soft whisper that seemed to be carried by the wind. "Leave," it urged. Startled, Sheen dismissed it as a figment of his imagination. But the feeling of unease lingered. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the house grew increasingly oppressive. Objects seemed to move on their own, and cold drafts whispered through the halls. Sheen's unease turned to fear as he discovered a hidden room in the basement, filled with ancient artifacts and eerie symbols. The house had a dark history that Airman conveniently left out of the listing. Desperate for answers, Sheen sought out Mrs. Blackwell. Her demeanor had changed from stern to downright foreboding. With a cryptic smile, she whispered, "You've awakened it. There's no turning back now." Determined to unravel the mystery, Sheen delved into the history of the house. He discovered that it had once belonged to a family with a tragic past. The spirits of the deceased seemed to have lingered, trapped in the walls of the Victorian mansion. As Sheen continued his investigation, he found a journal belonging to a former resident named Emily. Her entries spoke of a malevolent force that fed on the fear of the living, growing stronger with each passing generation. Sheen realized he had unwittingly become entangled in a supernatural web that threatened to consume him. Haunted by the entities that lurked in the shadows, Sheen faced a dilemma. Should he abandon the house and flee from the encroaching darkness, or should he confront the malevolent force that sought to claim him? Sheen couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out. The spirits in the house grew more restless with each passing day, their whispers turning into anguished cries. The once charming Victorian mansion had become a prison, and Sheen was trapped in its spectral embrace. Driven by a sense of duty and a desire to break the curse that bound the spirits, Sheen delved deeper into the secrets hidden within the house. He discovered a series of rituals that could potentially banish the malevolent force. But the cost was steep, a sacrifice that would bind him to the house forever. As Sheen grappled with the impossible choice before him, the supernatural occurrences intensified. The walls seemed to close in, and the air became thick with the scent of decay. Mrs. Blackwell, who had once served as the caretaker, revealed herself as a guardian of the house's dark secret. She had long ago made the sacrifice to protect the unsuspecting occupants, passing the burden from one caretaker to the next. Haunted by the tormented souls that sought release, Sheen decided to confront the malevolent force head-on. Armed with the knowledge from Emily's journal and guided by the reluctant assistance of Mrs. Blackwell, he embarked on a perilous journey to perform the ancient rituals. The house resisted, fighting back with a fury that shook Sheen to his core. Shadows writhed and contorted, taking on sinister forms as he moved through the dimly lit corridors. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and Sheen questioned his sanity as whispers echoed in his mind. In the heart of the house, Sheen faced the source of the malevolence, a lingering darkness that hungered for fear and despair. With each ritual, the oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the anguished cries of the trapped souls subsided. The house seemed to sigh in relief as the supernatural grip loosened. But as Sheen prepared for the final ritual, he hesitated. The sacrifice required to sever the ties completely filled him with dread. Mrs. Blackwell, with a solemn expression, urged him to fulfill his destiny, knowing that the only way to break the cycle was to become part of the haunted history. The decision weighed heavily on Sheen as he stood at the precipice of sacrifice. The spirits watched, their eyes pleading for release. The shadows receded, revealing a glimmer of peace in the once tormented Victorian mansion. The choice was his: to succumb to the darkness and become a part of the spectral tapestry, or to defy the malevolent force and seek a different path. The echoes of the haunted house awaited Sheen's final decision, as the air hung heavy with the consequences of his choices. As Sheen stood at the crossroads of his destiny, the weight of the decision bore down on him. The spirits seemed to hold their breath, and the shadows retreated as if waiting for his choice to unfold. In a moment of clarity, Sheen decided to defy the malevolent force that sought to consume him. The sacrifices of those who came before him would not be in vain. With a newfound strength, he rejected the dark path laid out by the rituals and sought an alternative solution. The house trembled, as if angered by Sheen's defiance. Whispers of discontent echoed through the halls, and the shadows writhed in protest. However, determined to break the cycle, Sheen began to recite a counter-ritual, a blend of ancient incantations and heartfelt pleas for mercy. The air crackled with energy as Sheen's words resonated through the haunted corridors. The spirits, sensing a glimmer of hope, lent their ethereal strength to his cause. Mrs. Blackwell, though initially skeptical, joined in the chant, her voice carrying the weight of centuries of caretakers who had silently suffered. As the ritual reached its climax, a blinding light erupted from the heart of the house, dispelling the darkness that had clung to its walls. The malevolent force recoiled, unable to withstand the collective will of those who sought to free it from its own malevolence. With a deafening roar, the supernatural entity dissipated, leaving behind an eerie silence. The house, once a vessel of torment, stood cleansed. The spirits, freed from their spectral prison, ascended with expressions of gratitude that lingered in the air. Sheen, exhausted but triumphant, watched as the Victorian mansion transformed before his eyes. The vintage charm that had been tainted by malevolence now radiated with a warm and welcoming glow. The once imposing shadows now danced with a newfound light, casting a sense of serenity upon the restored home. Mrs. Blackwell, now freed from her duty as caretaker, approached Sheen with a grateful smile. The burden that had haunted her for so long had finally been lifted. The two shared a moment of understanding, acknowledging the sacrifices made for the greater good. As Sheen stepped out of the house, he felt a sense of closure and liberation. The once foreboding Victorian mansion stood as a testament to the resilience of the living and the redemption of the departed. The neighborhood, once shrouded in an aura of fear, began to reclaim its tranquility. In the weeks that followed, Sheen shared his harrowing tale with Airman, urging them to reevaluate the information provided about the properties they listed. The experience had changed him, leaving an indelible mark on his soul. The shadows that had once clung to him had dissipated, replaced by a newfound appreciation for the fragility of life and the importance of confronting the darkness within. As Sheen moved forward, the echoes of the haunted house became a distant memory, a testament to the strength of the living to overcome the shadows that lurk in the most unexpected corners. The Victorian mansion, now free from its malevolent past, stood as a silent guardian, its secrets buried in the whispers of the wind. So, when he stumbled upon an old Victorian mansion listed on Airman, he couldn't resist the temptation to experience something out of the ordinary. The photos showcased a place frozen in time, with ornate details and an eerie charm that beckoned him. Little did he know that this rental would plunge him into a web of mysteries that would unravel with each passing night. As Chase arrived at the mansion, a shiver ran down his spine. The caretaker, a somber man named Mr. Blackwell, handed him an ancient key with a cryptic emblem engraved on it. Chase dismissed it as a quirky touch, but the heavy door creaked open ominously as he entered. The interior was as grand as the photos had suggested, but a lingering coldness hung in the air. Chase felt like an intruder in a place that had secrets to guard. Unperturbed, he explored room after room, each revealing more about the mansion's enigmatic past. On the second night, strange occurrences began. Muffled whispers echoed through the hallways, and shadows danced in the corners of his vision. Determined to dismiss it as mere imagination, Chase pushed on. But as he lay in bed, he heard footsteps pacing outside his room, accompanied by the ghostly rustle of Victorian-era clothing. Chase's curiosity transformed into a relentless pursuit of the truth. He delved into the history of the mansion, discovering tales of a long-forgotten family with a tragic past. The patriarch, Edgar Sinclair, had been rumored to dabble in the occult, invoking spirits in the pursuit of power and immortality. One evening, as Chase sifted through dusty archives in the mansion's library, he stumbled upon a hidden compartment. Inside, he found an ancient journal belonging to Edgar Sinclair. The entry spoke of dark rituals and a pact sealed with the spirits of the afterlife. Haunted by his findings, Chase began experiencing vivid dreams, visions of a spectral figure beckoning him deeper into the mansion. The line between reality and the supernatural blurred, and Chase found himself compelled to uncover the truth behind the whispers that now seemed to be guiding him. Determined to communicate with the restless spirits, Chase organized a seance. The air thickened with tension as he lit candles and spoke the incantations from Sinclair's journal. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles. In the darkness, a disembodied voice spoke, revealing the mansion's tragic history. The Sinclair family, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, sought redemption for their past transgressions. Chase, the unwitting guest, had become the vessel for their message. As the spirits communicated through him, he felt their pain and remorse. The once enigmatic rental had become a bridge between two worlds, and Chase found himself entwined in a supernatural quest for redemption. Little did he know, the shadows of the past were not easily appeased, and the mansion held secrets that would test the limits of his courage and sanity. Now, with the door between the living and the dead ajar, Chase stood at the crossroads of his own destiny, unsure of whether he could escape the clutches of the enigmatic rental or succumb to the shadows that lingered within. The spirit's revelations weighed heavily on Chase's shoulders as he grappled with the responsibility thrust upon him. Night after night, he communicated with the Sinclair family, unraveling the threads of their tragedy. The once charming Victorian mansion became a battleground between the forces of the living and the lingering specters of the past. Chase's quest for answers led him to a hidden chamber beneath the mansion, where the Sinclair family had conducted their darkest rituals. As he descended the creaky stairs, the air grew colder, and the oppressive weight of the supernatural bore down on him. Ancient symbols adorned the walls, pulsating with an otherworldly energy. In the depths of the chamber, Chase confronted the tormented spirits. They pleaded for release, their ethereal forms flickering in and out of existence. The mansion itself seemed to groan under the weight of the unresolved sorrow that permeated its walls. Guided by an otherworldly force, Chase undertook a harrowing journey through the past. He witnessed the Sinclair family's descent into darkness, the consequences of their unholy bargains, and the pain that had bound them to the mansion for centuries. It became clear that only through Chase's actions could the spirits find peace. As Chase delved deeper into the spiritual realm, he encountered the malevolent entity that had fueled the Sinclair family's descent into darkness. The entity, a manifestation of the darkest aspects of human desires, sought to drag Chase into a perpetual abyss of suffering. In a climactic confrontation, Chase faced the entity head-on. The air crackled with supernatural energy as the two forces clashed. Shadows writhed, and the mansion itself seemed to convulse in response to the ethereal battle. With the strength of the spirits at his side, Chase channeled the pain and remorse that permeated the mansion. The entity recoiled, its malevolence unable to withstand the overwhelming force of redemption and forgiveness. As the shadows receded, the mansion began to glow with a warm light that dispelled the lingering darkness. In the aftermath of the supernatural showdown, the atmosphere in the mansion shifted. The once foreboding halls now echoed with a sense of peace, The spirits of the Sinclair family, freed from their spectral chains, ascended to the afterlife, their grateful whispers fading into the ether. Chase emerged from the ordeal change, marked by an experience that transcended the boundaries of the living. The mansion, now free from the grip of the malevolent entity, stood as a testament to the power of redemption and the enduring strength of the human spirit. As Chase left the Victorian mansion behind, he couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits of the Sinclair family had found the peace they sought. The enigmatic rental, once a source of trepidation, now stood as a monument to the intricate dance between the living and the dead, a place where shadows had given way to the transformative light of redemption. Little did Chase know, his journey had not only unraveled the mysteries of the past, but had left an indelible mark on the mansion itself. The tale of the enigmatic rental would linger, whispered among those who dared to explore the boundaries of the unknown, a story woven into the very fabric of the place that had once been a gateway between worlds.